Art will say, well, here's a song we're going to play. This one's a new one. It's called The Boxer. And then he'll say, here's a new song. This one's called Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Welcome to Song Album Career. I'm Chris Bragg, and with me is David Thurmeyer. And today we're going to do a fun episode, similar to an episode we did recently where it was 80s albums we still listen to today. This one, today, we're going to be talking about live albums. Are you a big live albums fan, Dave? Do you like live albums more than regular albums, or
No, I would say I'm much more of a studio person because I like the
Mm-hmm.
creative aspect of working there. However, I also enjoy live albums because you get to experience what a concert might have been like and hear how people
Yeah.
play and hear some
Mm-hmm.
iconic solos and bands get to stretch out a little bit. So they're different, but I'd say I
Yep.
prefer I listen to studio albums more. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's the case. Do you feel sometimes a lot of your enjoyment of a live album is how it's recorded? Because sometimes they can be kind of screechy and
Yeah.
annoying.
I well, that's why I think it's important. Live albums. I like live albums a lot
Yeah,
when they're good. When they're bad, they're bad.
yeah, and there
But when
are
they're
some.
good, they could be. You could sometimes with certain artists, you could just buy a live album, and
True.
that would satisfy your whole catalog of the artist. Also, in some cases, if they're recorded really well, the mix is good. That and maybe it's an intimate show, like some of these on my list are. It can just be like transformative, like really put you in
Yeah,
the room and take you back in time to when this show was. So,
that's
so
true.
anyway,
And
our little topic is before you say what you're going to say, just
yeah,
want to squeeze in here. The topic is 5 live albums you should know. Each of us are going to provide 5 that you should know about, you should listen to. Maybe not the 5 greatest live albums of all time or anything like that, but 5 that you should definitely be aware of.
yes. And I think to go along with what you were just saying, I think musicality is something that you can tell a lot from a live album, assuming they don't sweeten it up too much, which we know sometimes happens. But for the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
part, that's why you don't see tons of live albums by a lot of artists nowadays, because everything is done either in the studio or it's processed or it's backing tracks or it's just not quite the same. So I don't know about
Mhm.
your 5 that you chose, but mine tend to skew older because of that reason, because you can really focus on the musicality of the artists. So that matters a
Okay,
lot to
we will
me.
see. We
Okay,
will
okay.
see.
I did, yeah, as
I
usual,
did I
Chris
did
and I
get
never know.
yeah. I did get
Yeah.
a more recent record in here, so
Okay. I have one too
we'll
from
talk
this
about it.
century at least.
Yeah. All right, well, let's start. Why don't you start us off, Dave, with your first live album we should know?
Okay. Should we go chronologically, or did you put him in any order, or just random
I put
order?
them in chronological order just for
Okay.
funsies.
All right. So we want to do chronological then? We can do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with a far left field one here, but Judy Garland live at Carnegie
Oh,
Hall, which is,
wow.
yeah, often
Yeah.
called one of the greatest nights in show business and incredible. She is just on fire. The band is hot, hot, and you hear all of her hits. So Somewhere Over the Rainbow and the Trolley Song and a lot of
Yeah.
jazz standards, and
Hmm.
it's just so good as a listening experience. And then it was also I like it too because it was reenacted completely by Rufus Wainwright, another one of my
Oh,
favorite
yes.
more recent artists who adored this concert for lots of reasons. And yeah, so it's just a fantastic listen all the way through.
You know that an album is iconic and good when they do the biopic, they center it around, oh, she's going to perform that live at Carnegie Hall at the end of
Yeah,
this biopic,
yeah,
the
exactly.
recent movie Judy, I think, did
Yeah,
that.
Judy.
So,
That's right. That's right.
so
Yeah, so that was in
yeah,
1961. So it was really
yeah,
just everything came together that night. And for someone who had such a challenging life, it was
yeah.
really a bright, shining star at that moment.
Well, my first, and I've got my little now playing here, so I'm going to put them up
Yeah, I
as I
see
talk
that.
about them. Is Curtis Mayfield
Mm.
with Curtis live, recorded at the bitter end. And it feels like this is what I was talking about. It feels kind of like intimate show, smaller venue. I've played this a ton over the last few years. Great soul music, very
Mm.
political and unfortunately still relevant political, but it really feels like he's having a conversation with the audience. There's a lot of little what they call rap, and it's just him talking to the audience a little before he plays. Great energetic performances of We're a Winner, Check Out Your Mind. A very fantastic version of If There's a Hell Below, We've All Got to Go. But it's also got People Get Ready,
Oh
classic
yeah.
track, very smooth vocals there, and some of the most tender love songs I've ever heard on recording. We've Only Just Begun. Of course, the
Yeah,
Carpenters made that famous,
Carpenters. Yeah.
and The Makings of You. Just absolutely beautiful vocals from him. And of course, his guitar playing is just, he does this triplet thing all the time, these little lilting kind of runs on the guitar. He's very underrated, very excellent guitarist. So Curtis
When is it?
Mayfield, Curtis Live,
When is it from?
1971. 71.
Oh,
So he was,
1971. Okay.
yeah, so he was just out of the Impressions, and then I think he came out with Curtis in 1970, perhaps,
Hmm.
his first big solo album. So really in his prime here in this recording.
Yeah.
And I've listened to it so much. It's really
Oh,
fantastic. So
terrific.
yeah.
Very good. My number two on in chronological order. So I'm a
Mhm.
huge Bill Evans fan, the pianist, and
Oh, yes.
I could have put what everybody wants to put, which is his Village Vanguard set, which I have somewhere behind me in this room in my CDs. The classic trio, Bill Evans trio with Scott LaFaro and Paul Motian. But I actually
Yeah.
prefer an album he recorded after that, which was called Bill Evans at Shelly's Manne-Hole, which is
Hmm.
based on the drummer Shelly Manne and his bar, I guess. But it was from 1963. Wonderful performances with Chuck Israels, the bassist, and Larry Bunker, the drummer, and just really good performances of Isn't It Romantic, and just a lot of classic Bill Evans stuff. He sounds at his prime, so highly
Wonderful.
recommended
Yeah.
album.
I wonder if I'm sure it we're in a golden age of repressing
Yes,
from the original analog
that's right.
tapes, usually by Ernie Grundman or someone like that.
It
So I'm
was
sure.
released on vinyl that recently,
Great.
so
So we'll put a link to many of mine are recently released on vinyl. So we'll put a link to all of those in our show notes, so you can just click them if one of these interests you. You can purchase it straight through our links.
perfect.
So my second one is, once again, just like what you said, some of his other live recordings are a little more famous, but I think this Neil Young and Crazy Horse
Oh,
Weld
yeah,
is a terrific album from
yeah,
1991. This was right on the heels of Freedom, which is a angry
yeah.
political album, and this is a very angry, loud political performance, including a "Blowing in the Wind" cover version with a lot of screeches and war sounds. He said in an interview with David Frick for Rolling Stone, "We were there all the way through it, and to me, that's what Weld is about. It's very brutal, especially the songs with big endings. I was trying to create the sound of violence and conflict, heavy
Mm.
machinery, outright destruction. It's very loud, very. If you like rock, if you like Harvest Moon,
Wrong album.
this is the wrong album for you. But if you like the rocking out Neil Young, there's no better album, I think. Hey, hey, my, Crime in the City, great versions of that, great version of Love to Burn. But Cortez the Killer and Powderfinger back to back, which he
Mm,
added to the tour because there were violent songs about violent stuff. Or it's just what a run.
mm.
Cortez the Killer, Powderfinger, Love and Only Love, Rockin' in the Free World, and Like a Hurricane, all back to back to back to back.
Wow.
Just fantastic. And all long too.
Yeah.
Like like uh like a Hurricane's 14 minutes long, but it doesn't overstay its welcome though. It's very good, very great performances. And I really wore out the CD copy of this, so I'm glad to have it on vinyl now.
Well, just look at that cover. That kind of
Yeah.
tells you what you're going to be in for with the enormous amps and
Yeah.
the bright lights and very kind of
Yeah.
aggressive look. So, yeah, it's that I love the I wore out the Ragged Glory album with
Yeah.
Crazy Horse. So you mentioned a couple songs on that that are
Yeah.
played live. So great period for Neil.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, at the same time he released Arc,
Yeah, I was
which
gonna
is
say that's not
which
so
is just
interesting.
a
Yeah.
just an album full of noise, basically.
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of cold from this concerts, but not a pleasant listen, that one, but I really love this one. It's very
Yeah.
good.
Good choice. Well, I'm going to go completely the opposite now in terms of
Yeah.
sound. That's a loud rockin' album. Let's have two guys playing together in a in a smaller setting. Simon and Garfunkel live in 1969,
Oh,
which
wonderful.
yeah, is such a beautiful listen because they had recorded Bridge Over Troubled Water, but it wasn't released. And so
Wow.
they're scooping some of the songs. So Art will say, "Well, here's a song we're going to play. This one's a new one. It's called The Boxer." And then he'll say, "Here's a new song. This one's called Bridge Over Troubled Water." And so you
Wow.
hear it live with a band, and it was the first time they'd played with a band live on that tour from 1969. So wonderful hearing Paul Simon's guitar playing in all its glory. Art sounds great, and a good mixture of hits, and then some of the new songs that we all know as big popular classic Simon and Garfunkel, but they were
Yeah.
new then, and nobody had
Wow.
heard them. So they're hearing the crowd reaction to Art singing Bridge Over Troubled Water is
Yeah.
terrific. So
Breathtaking.
yeah, it really is. Yeah, highly recommended.
Well, my next selection is from an artist that hardly anybody knows, from 1993, Heather Nova. It's only on CD currently, and the album's called Blow. Heather Nova's a Bermudian singer, songwriter, and poet.
Ooh.
She's released 11 full length albums, 6 EPs, and 12 singles. Very underrated artist, very good songs, great vocals. And she's a guitarist. She plays with a rock on this particular recording. Very, very great rock band, and which includes a cellist. Awesome arrangements. Many of these better than on the record. She has 3 different live albums, and I think this is an example of an artist who sounds better live, for sure,
Mm.
than on her. I mean, I don't dislike her studio albums, but there's something additional to the live performance here. It shows very much in the last minute of the lead track, Light Years, very dynamic ending where her voice and guitar blend seamlessly, and it always makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's just like
Hmm.
a wonderful thing. And then Sugar, a song, poetic story song about a young woman confronting the uncertainty of a unplanned pregnancy. Beautiful love song, Doubled Up, one of my favorite love songs on this. Also, some great tracks, Maybe an Angel, Blessed, Talking to Strangers, Frontier. All those are complicated songs too. They're not all like simple lyrically. The stories they're telling are a little more complicated. So I got a chance to finally see her a few years
Hmm.
ago, and she was just terrific live, still playing live. And she does a thing that more artists should do, which is she just records every concert and makes it available. Say you
Uh,
went to the show at Evanston Space and you want a copy of it, you just hit a button, pay her $10 or $15 or whatever it is, and you've got a copy of it on your computer. So
Hmm.
Heather Nova. Not she was on the Lilith Fair tour, and I think she
Ah, yeah.
kind of got clumped in with and dismissively too with female artists of the time. Got a
Sarah
little dismiss
McLaughlin
like you
and
have to have your own
yeah,
little tour, you ladies.
yeah, yeah.
But I think she's terrific. I think I'm a
Hmm.
big fan of Heather Nova.
Heather
Rarely
Nova.
known, unknown artist, pretty much still. But
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So
Very good. Very good. This next one, you knew you couldn't get a list of live albums from me without including the Grateful Dead. I mean, you
oh
talked about
yes.
you talked about Heather Nova not having, or maybe some of her live albums being better than studio. Well, that's always been the knock on the Dead, is that their studio albums aren't as good as their live albums. And that's, I
Yep.
think, largely true. But I already did a song album career solo video on Live Dead from
Mhm.
1969. So I'm going to throw in Europe 72, which was released, obviously, it's what it
Hmm.
says, Europe. They toured around Europe in 1972. It was originally a triple LP and features much tighter Dead. Not the Chris, is you're a huge fan of the long extended jams that go on for half an hour. There aren't
Yeah.
many of those here. These are just more straight ahead songs, countrified from their American Beauty and Working Man's Dead Time, and only one drummer, so Bill Kreutzmann, so it's tighter. And yeah, highly recommended. There's still a long version of Truckin' and some of the usual, they go off in their way. But I think it's a pretty good listen, even if you're not a Dead fan. I think you'll like a lot of the tunes and variety. And yeah, Europe 72. And there was a recent enormous box set that had like a
Yeah.
hundred CDs or something that had
Yeah, yeah. Every
every show,
performance,
every
yeah.
performance.
Yeah, if you're I was in the line behind at record store day behind a deadhead
Oh
clearly.
yeah?
And he and his buddy were talking and very nervous, making sure that they get the, Dead fans really want all of the stuff.
Yes. Yeah, they
More so
do.
than anybody else. So sometimes it's like, oh man, this is gonna really set me back.
Yeah. I mean, there was a new one
So
recently. It came out 60 CDs or 60 records or something insane. So,
yeah.
but at least, unlike other groups who are stingy, at least they put a lot out there. So it's available. But a good album, Europe 72.
Dave, I'm often asked what concert was my favorite concert that I've ever been to, and I often answer Leonard Cohen. And
Ah,
so Leonard Cohen live in London. Leonard Cohen live in London is my selection here. Obviously, I didn't see him in London. I saw him here in Chicago. Wonderful show, just fantastic. Part of the reason Leonard Cohen wouldn't have even toured, but he got swindled by his manager
yeah.
Kelly Lynch, and in 2008 he had to go back on tour. So this from
Hmm.
2009, and what a gift that he had to go back on tour
Hmm.
to all of us, because this was really a brilliant career retrospective. He's in his 70s, but hasn't lost a step. Of course, his voice went from in the early records in the 69 and 70 records. He's up here, blah 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 blah. But now he's hello friend.
Yeah. Yeah, he's more of a
Um
bass.
and this was recorded in the O2, which you would think
Oh.
would make it sound a little more cavernous or something, but it doesn't. Just a wonderful group of musicians here, including his longtime songwriting partner Sharon Robinson, the Webb sisters, Bob Metzger on lead guitar, very great pedal steel guitar and stuff. Javier Mas is fantastic, playing the bandura, the loud, and the
Hmm.
arcaloud. Do you know? Do you
No,
play
I
an
don't know
arcaloud?
what those,
Is that
don't know
that's
what
not an
those.
arcaloud behind you, Dave?
No, it's a balalaika.
Oh yes. So,
Yeah, huh.
and then Roscoe Beck on bass, and yeah, it's just some wonderful performances, and you're gonna really get a career retrospective. You get like this his 80s 90s stuff like The Future and Everybody Knows, and stuff like that. You're gonna get older tracks like Suzanne and So Long Marianne and Hallelujah
I was going to say, does he
on
do
this.
Hallelujah?
Of
Yeah.
course, he does a wonderful version of Hallelujah. He does a terrific versions of Take This Waltz. First, we take Manhattan. If you don't know that song, it's just so good here. And then what I really love is one thing is he plays two sets. He plays a set, and then they do a intermission, and then he comes back and he plays a full second set, and then that set ends with closing time,
Oh.
and then little, the crowd wants more, so he comes out and he plays the song "I Tried to Leave You." So very great,
Having fun
very
with it.
great. Having
Yeah.
fun with it, but just a wonderful record. We
Hmm.
play this all the time in this household because it's just really great, and his voice sounds really resonant and good
Yeah.
in the lower register.
Hmm.
Oh.
Well, we should do a Leonard
Mhm.
Cohen episode sometime because he's somebody I've always been interested in, but never really gotten into his music. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We should for
yeah.
sure.
Well,
So
good. Maybe I could do the same with my final choice, although I don't think so because I'm not sure you're a big fan, but a Chicago band, Wilco, is one of my
oh
favorite
yeah,
more
I've seen
contemporary
Wilco
bands.
live.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been to a Wilco show. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so this is their 2005 album. It's called Kicking Television, which I have here, the CD of it. And it
Yeah.
was recorded at the Vic Theater in Chicago
Oh
uh,
yeah.
in 2005. Is that still there
Yeah.
or
Oh, for
not?
sure. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff at the Vic
Yeah.
before. The frames.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very good album. It was right at the time that Yankee Hotel Foxtrot had come out, and there's some of their recent early 21st century stuff, so more experimental songs are on there, but sounds terrific. Very long. It's a double album, and Jeff Tweedy is there's a lot of audience banter, and including some guy who keeps yelling for him to play a song, and he says what's your name? And then says, and then Jeff Tweedy says, "Okay, great, now shut up," and just kind of like tells them to be quiet. So
Yeah.
it gives you the experience. So I've seen Wilco 5 times, same as Paul McCartney actually. So enjoyed
Yeah.
this performance. I think I didn't go see them at the big theater, but I saw them during that tour. So
Yeah.
kicking
So that's the
those
thing. It really sticks with you like, oh yeah, this is a tour I saw these guys on. Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah, yeah. So Kicking Television by Wilco.
well, very good, very good. And I'll go 2020.
Ah,
And this group is actually the first group I saw indoors post-COVID. And it's the War on Drugs, and you can barely
oh
see
yeah, I can't
the
see.
album cover, very dark album cover, and it's called Live Drugs. Do you know the War on Drugs at all, Dave?
I know I've heard of them. I don't know what
Um,
genre or style.
well, they're a rock band. They sound very, particularly vocal phrasing wise, very much of a Bob Dylan, Bruce
Oh,
Springsteen sort of phylum
oh,
of
I would like that.
vocals. I think you would love them, and I think you'd really like this album. I this is the only album I own on vinyl of theirs. Their two big albums are "Lost in the Dream" and "A Deeper Understanding," which won I think the best rock album at the Grammys. But this came out after "Deeper Understanding" has just a terrific run of songs on here. Pain, Strangest Things, Red Eyes, Thinking of a Place.
Hmm.
Very excellent. And then Under the Pressure here, an absolutely epic performance of Under the Pressure. When I saw them on tour, I was like very impressed with their stage performance. And I think he even played a Dylan cover in the
Hmm.
show I saw at the Chicago Theater. But yeah, if you like Bob Dylan, if you like Bruce Springsteen, if you like The Killers, if you like groups like that, definitely check out the War on Drugs. I think their albums are good, but they're just such a terrific live band.
All right, I will definitely
Often,
check them out.
often you'll catch them on the live streams of like Coachella or something like that. They always seem to be like at Bonnaroo or Coachella or one of those
Festivals.
things,
Yeah.
festivals. So good festival band. So yeah,
All right. Well, good.
yeah. Well, we could have
That
done
should give
five
everybody.
more
I know. Maybe we will
a
someday because there's
piece.
so many that I had to leave
Yeah,
off here. But
yeah.
it's yeah.
I didn't
There's
put any Bowie on here. What? Yeah.
no.
So
Where I we could have put Dylan. I mean, there's a lot
yeah,
of good choices. But yeah.
yeah.
Well, that just means we have to do a part two.
Yeah, we'll do another one of these for sure. What are some of your favorite live albums? We really want to hear from you. So leave a comment on our video here, and we'll respond to you in your comments. Unless you read it, if you leave a nasty comment, you might not get a response. But what are some of your favorite live albums? Turn us on to some live albums. Maybe you'll recommend a live album. Well, let's do it. We'll do a full episode on it. You never know. But follow us, like us here, subscribe to us here, and also we have another channel called I've Got a Beatles Podcast, and that's on YouTube as well. So you can subscribe to that or follow us on Podbean. We have that. That's a podcast, so we have it all over the place, and we have over 250 episodes now of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a long slog. No, it's been an absolute joy to do these. And we really appreciate your comments and your likes and your subscribes and all of that. So we'll be back with another song or album or career very soon.